give them a scratch around the wither. You've got to take a lot of notice of working with young horses. You've got to see them in their own environment. You've got to see them socialise. This is very important. So you know what you're working with and not against. We know he's good around the ears. We don't need to do any focus on there. He's been treated well. The worst thing you can do is screw ears around. Makes life a lot harder. Put a bridle on to work with a horse. Try and get his head down. Get him relaxed and trusting you. He's still a bit busy and looking around at everything. He'll come good. Couple of days in here. Well, you know a horse is starting to trust you when you put your hands over his eyes for a few seconds. Good boy. This is a simple roller, what we call here in Thailand a lunging or a training system where we can connect all of our reins, our leads, everything to that, which will come in the next stage. What we'll do, as I say, this is my towel that you can use as well. I've just used for the with the flag. Focus towards us. That's it. You can shake it around a bit, get him used to it. Don't scare him, no need to scare a horse. And first day, it's never any stress. You just don't want to be stressing the horse out. Work your way around them smoothly and fluently. Okay, I'm going to do this very loosely to start with. Going to get a feel with it. My man walking him round. Can I walk? This exercise, I want to start off in small circles and we're going to progress to get bigger. I'm going to use the butt of my whip just where your leg goes when you're riding. So there is a command to say, walk on, and then there's an action. If you don't get anything from the command, you ask for a bit more of an action. Walk on, good boy. Patience and more patience with young horses. They are like kids in kindergarten. Now I can just focus on my whip, being the length that I want it to keep him away from me. Now he's creating his space and I don't want him coming back into my space unless I ask him. There's two types of pressure with a young horse, and that's physical pressure, as in the way I use my hands, the way I use my whip, and there's mental pressure. How much pressure can a young horse take mentally? They're all different. Okay, I'm going to see if he'll give me a little trot, and he'll feel that girth. We'll keep going. You're a very smart horse, well done. It's very important you keep focusing on the horse's eye, your eye, and you can read a lot of language from his head, as I say, his ears and his mouth. Now I want him to ask him to stop, give and take on the inside on your rein, and I'm going to show the butt of my whip. And I want him to stay out on his circle, not come into me. Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's always a good habit to get into to stop a horse for at least 6 seconds. And we're going to go around the other way. Give him a pat first. He's doing a good 6. Okay, the next stage of this day is putting on what we call the bungee lungy. This is what we call a bungee lungy. This connects to the bit and this comes back round through a ring, connects up. It has 3 levels, long, medium and short. Never put a horse on a short level first up when it hasn't done anything in any sort of contraption. Let him have a feel. He probably won't feel that at all unless he picks his head up. That's all we want for the day. He's got 5 days of this mouthing process, and on the 5th day I want to see his head under, just contact on the bit, so when he feels the bit he's just sitting there nicely. Young horses in the initial stages don't take a lot of work. They absorb a lot in the first few days. You can't overdo it. So 20 minutes to half an hour in the first 2-3 sessions is enough for a young horse. Half an hour is probably ideal. My body position and my body language. Although I'm always focusing on the horse's eye, it's very important to read his language, to see what his actions and what his mind's thinking about. Up. Come on. Come on. Good boy. I always have to sit just directly back or stand directly back off his shoulder. Very important. That's his space. That's his flow, free moving space ahead of him. If I wanted to stop, I'd move him to stop. I'd move, good boy. I'd move into his space and create that feeling that he can't go forward. Even though he can, it's all about respecting each other's space. Whoop. Okay, so that's his lesson learnt. I'm going to put him out in the yard now. He'll stay out there for half an hour. We'll connect up our side reins, and that's his job done for the day. He's done a good job. We have side reins here, elastics always to the back. With anything to do with horses, you always have your flaps facing backwards. Levels I can. We'll have a look when this is connected. And that's very loose. We'll just have a tiny bit of contact there. Okay. When we walk them outside, we always disconnect any pressure off the bit when they haven't had it before. Now he'll walk out to the yards and we'll let him go there for another little session. Once we've done all our work inside here, they must come outside here and they've got to think about, digest in their brain what they've just learnt there. Have a think about what's happening with the whole process, and it's also to put the side reins on so they can start flexing under. Although there's not a lot of tension on there now, each day I go shorter and shorter until we're getting right under with their head carriage.
นั่นก็เป็นแค่การเริ่มต้นของการฝึกม้าใหม่ในขั้นตอนที่1นะครับซึ่งในขั้นตอนนี้มีความสำคัญมากเพราะเหมือนเป็นการปูพื้นฐานที่ดีให้กับเจ้าสงกรานต์ทีนี้เราก็ไปดูขั้นตอนที่2กันดีกว่าว่าจะยากง่ายอย่างไร
This is stage 2's gear that we need. We have the same. We've got the bridle, the head collar. We've got our fly repellent and our Vaseline still applied to the horse's mouth. The first initial stages of stage 2 is to teach the horse how to steer. So we're starting to teach him to turn and stop, reverse, carry his head nicely. So we've started off, we've had this on for the last week, 7 days. This is all the tacking, so he's had the side reins connected to the bridle. And now we need to start connecting our 2 long leads, lunging reins to the bit, through the training system, and then back into my hands where I can start teaching him. It's best to start them with 1 rein, to start teaching them to turn on 1 rein, repeating that process half a dozen times one way, half a dozen times the other way, till I get both reins connected and I know the horse has the concept of turning. Then we start to practice our stopping. Then after this has been on for a couple of days, I like to put the saddle on so he can start getting used to the feel of the saddle, more noise of the saddle, the weight of the saddle. So once the saddle's put on, I connect, once the girth's done up, I connect this piece of string and it goes under the belly of the horse and it's tied to the other side here, so it doesn't flap and scare the horse too much. Then the same applies. The clips are connected to the bit or sometimes connected through the bit and connected up here, and then I can thread my leads through the stirrup irons and we can continue to steer and drive the horse with a new piece of equipment on his back. This is all progressional to getting up to the stages of his first ride. Here we are with our same horse as last week, Songkran. He's up to stage 2. Now stage 2 is what we're doing is teaching them how to steer. So same equipment as stage 1 for the first day, and then we graduate to a saddle. But today's exercise will be done in the training system, or roller as I like to call them. So we'll put this on him. Last week we were flagging him down. That process is finished. We've finished playing with his legs. We know a lot more about him. He's got a lot of trust and we've formed a bond. And then we get one rein. We start teaching him to turn around himself with the one rein, left a few times, right a few times, then I'll put both reins on. This is the stage where I start them turning. I like to just play with them for a little bit and get them flexing their neck around to me, feeling the bit in the mouth, seeing if they'll bend around, get that concept of bending with their head down and around before I start my one rein turns. Steady boy, steady. Good boy. Good boy. Steady. Give and take, all gently. There. Good boy. Good boy. He gets the feeling of it around his back legs as well. Good, that's what we want. Much better. Good boy. One last one. Hey, mate. Good. That's just giving him the concept of turning both ways. Everything was done, the minimum of fuss, quietly and positively. Now we can connect the two reins up and start the process of mouthing him. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can just connect straight onto the bit, but for the first day, I like to see them bend because I'm not using much hands at all. I'm using more of my body language and my voice. So you just thread that through the bit, through to the top. Today is just getting him used to the two reins around his hind legs, running it through the bit and making it a nice, easy, stress-free experience. Move behind him quietly. He knows what they're about behind his back legs, so I know he's not going to kick. It's very important your body position is in the right place. Exaggerating your movements. Now I know he can turn. He's just flowed through and done that nicely. My hand's exaggerated, so he's seeing that with his eye and moves away from it. While my inside hand, eventually it'll sit down low so I can get him to bend towards me, bend down and towards me and flex in on the circle. Inside hand down, bring his head down, focusing on his eye, and I sit right behind his shoulder so he can move forward freely in his space and I can control my space. When we do want to start up, stopping, I'll move forward into his space, asking him to stop with my voice and my hands. I'll prepare to stop in a minute. First stop, so I wouldn't imagine it will be too precise, but we've got to start somewhere. Okay, no. I want him to stop when I ask him to stop. Good boy. Good boy. I'm going to move forward into his space, around the other side near the door, and ask him to stop. Steady. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. 6 seconds I like them to stop for, to think about that, what I've just asked them, and move on. So this stage will go on for a week until we're stopping very precisely. We're turning, our mouth's nice and soft. We're doing nice trotting figure of eights around the sand roll. Got full concentration on me. Then we progress to the saddle on the top. We tie the stirrups underneath to act as if they are those rings on the side. We drive them for a couple of days. Ooh, good boy. Ooh, ooh. Drive them for a couple of days.